Bing, bong. Okay, we are live. All right. Thank you for being here, everyone. So we are going to talk about quarter one and like what all that entails and how can we as entrepreneurs be prepared for quarter one, because you don't need to prepare for quarter one in quarter one, or be in quarter two and be preparing for quarter two. You need to think ahead. So what I've done here is just used some tactics that I have done over the years to really help amplify what we're going to be doing in 2026. And I have just kind of typed out very like smoothly here, no pictures, no special graphics or fonts, just how I look at the upcoming year. So definitely I think it's important to split it into 4, so that way you can kind of see what is, the higher months, the lower months, especially for service and product based, quarter 4 can sometimes be a little slow, and then the beginning of quarter 1, and then there's this jump between quarter 3 and quarter 4. So what I have here is just some different sections to consider. So I think what is first important is to really identify, like, what is your overall goal? I think that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we forget to dream. Like, what is your dream? What is your dream with your company? What is your goal for 2026? What do you want to have happen? What connections do you? All right. Hopefully you already know your ideal customer. When we think about like target audience, sometimes those things change, but you want to make sure that you can identify who your target audience is, and it's not just women. Okay, what type of woman? Is she a mom? Is she 30? Is she 14? You want to be very specific about your target audience, so that way your goal can be reached. And I think this is a really difficult one, right? Like, marketing and visibility is really tricky these days, because you got to think about the digital aspect, but then also the in-person. So for instance, I was just at a restaurant and I looked at their Instagram first, because I'm a millennial. That's what I like to do. So I looked at their Instagram first and I was like, But because I was already outside, I went in. When I went in, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Like, I can't wait to order and, whatever. So what people see online needs to translate to what they get in person, because we all want an experience. And then, vice versa. What you see in person, like, get that content so that it's online, because you have people that are looking digitally to try a new place or do something first, and then that'll pull them off the couch to bring them in. So I think that's a consistent kind of like ebb and flow that we need to consider when trying to get people into our spaces. And then as far as your products and services, is there anything that is draining your time, draining your cash? Like, is there anything that you need to kind of let go of? Have you gotten feedback from your customers to say like, hey, this product or service, here's the feedback on that. And whether that's positive or negative, take that feedback to really identify, okay, what are my next steps? So that's why I kind of put like, what will you start, stop, or improve? And that's just a good question to continuously ask yourself as you are progressing in 2026, because you don't want to keep a product that's not selling. You don't want to keep a product that people like don't enjoy, or they feel like it doesn't kind of have those 5 stars, if you will. And then thinking about your cash flow, do you have more loans than cash? Like, how are you, decreasing your debt? Like, consider that as you are thinking about your revenue and your profit. This is a big one that we have been working on this year, operations and systems. So if we want to serve, let's just say 100 Black entrepreneurs. Okay. When those 100 people go through our site and then they're in our network, what is their process like? Okay, if I'm going to buy 10 dresses from you, what does that process look like? Is it a lot of clicking for me? Is it a lot of data collection, or I have to add my address and then add my phone number and then add my, what does that system look like? What does your operation look like? And then after I purchase it, what's my wait time? Do I get a follow-up email? So really streamlining those systems so that your customer will be at that starting point to that end point, and then repeat that process all over again, because that's ultimately the goal. Once we have a customer, we want them to come back. We want them to know, like, and trust us, know, like, and trust our product, and that's very, very important. Okay, also, those of you, most of you are probably solo entrepreneurs, but some of you do have a team. So who do you need around you? Do you need an employee? Do you need a social media manager? Do you need a bookkeeper? Do you need someone to help you manage everything that you have? Do you need an accountability partner? It's really just thinking about your year before, what went well, what are your, I call them like thorns and roses, and then now, okay, here's what we're going to shift for next year. And then the last two things, consider your data and decision making. So what 3 to 5, things are you going to track weekly? For us, we're tracking Google reviews from consumers who have, either purchased a keychain, purchased a shirt, who've just interacted with us in any type of way. And we're also tracking experiences with entrepreneurs that we've helped here in the city, because that data is important. When we look at that data, good or bad, it's, good data for us to consider with how is our operations and systems going. So you want to try and get feedback as often as possible, so that way you can know what needs to be started, changed, or rerouted. And then you also want to consider your own health. So some of us are just going. What does your mental look like? What does your physical look like? Because we don't want to be burned out. And I know that being a solo entrepreneur, I'm doing this by myself, I just have to keep going. But we want to really think about our mental and our physical health. For me, I stopped answering emails after 8 o'clock. And I know I should probably do better than that, but I was answering emails whenever they came in. No. Hard stop. Now I have set a boundary. So make sure that you are considering that as you are building your business. So those are just some things I want us to consider, and I think are just kind of really foundational in order for you to plan that quarter one, and plan your quarter one. So basically, this is just something to start with. This is not the end all. After you go through these questions, these are not your complete and final thoughts on how to be successful in 2026. Some things that, I also would consider that someone would do when planning is to really I do 2 quarters at a time. Well, first I start off with kind of like a quadrant on a whiteboard, and I'll go through and put those months there. And then I go back and I put in what events we do every single year. So we know in June, there's always a Juneteenth jump off. So boom, Juneteenth jump off is happening again. We don't know where, we don't know how, but we know it's happening again in June. So what events do you have that are kind of, really good money makers for you, or places that you enjoy going and you kind of know the organizer and it's just a seamless connection point? Those are things that you want to add back to your quarter two. And then think about, different service opportunities or businesses that you can connect with to maybe add on more events, or just be connected with them. Okay, back to us. So there's a quadrant on the whiteboard. It's split in 4. We have the months laid out on, okay, we're going to do this, then we're going to do that, then we're going to do this. And then I try to add in 2 new things per year. Doesn't always happen. But what areas in those quadrants from quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4 will help me like kind of maximize connections, maximize, consumer like relationships. So after we kind of lay out those repetitive events, then it goes to like, okay, what is our goal for revenue for each one of these events? Okay, what is our process for collecting tickets for these events? What is our process for, are we having food? Yes or no? So like my team and I, we would decide like, okay, there'll be food here, but not food there. Or we'll have, 10 vendors here and only 4 here. So it's really just so we start kind of like with a bigger picture. And so now that we have that quadrant split in 4, now let's go to quadrant 1. Okay. We have 3 events coming up. We already have a DJ. Okay. We have the graphic. We're just going to change the picture, or we're going to change the or we're going to, have our graphic designer create something different. Let's look at the one we used last year. Let's look at the Instagram data from last year to see, what was the success for this. And so that is kind of how I plan it out. And then we use Trello to identify like what are those next steps. And so inside of Trello, now we have this information of, okay, now we are going to do this event. These are the people that we want connected with it. This is the cost. Here's how much we hope to make from that. And then we recheck that Trello, Trello, constantly, and then we can make edits and adjust from there. So I think that's going to be something that's very beneficial. So I'm going to stop at that point and let you kind of digress with that, and then we'll come back to really talk through, and I'll take some questions and answers.